What is going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to talk more about what we talked about yesterday. And there won't be a test on these 9 different intelligences. If I was a really good teacher, I might give you a test on these, but it's just, I don't know, it's weird times, right? Like a lot of people are out of school. My goal is that you just have an understanding of these. If they come up later, you might be able to have some kind of an idea. And then for yourself, you hopefully will know yourself a little bit better when it comes to these intelligences. Like, hey, where do I fit in? And remember, of the 9, it doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm 100% this and then 0% in the rest. Most of the time it's like, oh, I'm a little bit of this, I'm a little bit of this, I'm really weak in this area. So as we go through, I might mention a little bit about myself, and then I'll mention about, like we talked about yesterday, like there are 2 of these intelligences that schools really, really like. And of course, that's not fair to the other people who are intelligent in other things. Let me bring this thing up. And we're just going to go right around this wheel of the 9. That's what it looks like, the whole thing. It was available yesterday. Maybe you looked at it. I'm not sure. But the first one is the naturalist. So when I see this, I think nature. And I don't want you to think like I'm an expert on this stuff. I just kind of have an idea. But there are other places where you could probably find a lot more information on this. But I want to give you an overview here. But naturalist, think nature. So if you're one of those people that don't like going to the city, you feel more comfortable in nature. Like you may just be able to know the types of trees that are in your neighborhood. Maybe you've done a little research. And remember, the thing I want to stress about this, make myself bigger, just to make the point, is that if you have an interest in one of these, you can build up the intelligence. Like when we get to the musical part or the kinesthetic part, like you can be naturally good at something, but then you can work towards being better at it. Okay. So maybe you did some research on the types of trees in your neighborhood and you love that part of nature. Or maybe you feel closer to animals, or maybe you want to be like a botanist, when you get older, somebody who studies plants. That would be someone who probably has more of that naturalist intelligence. So if you're an animal person and you just kind of know, like instinctively, the way they feel, that's probably what kind of person you are. Okay, maybe you're really good at gardening. You just have that knack. You can't explain it. It's just like, hey, seriously, when I try to grow things, when I said seriously, Siri just came up. But seriously, when I try to grow things, like it doesn't really work for me. I don't know. I just do something wrong. Sometimes people say they have a green thumb if they're really good at gardening or what. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. Like, could I get good at it? Maybe. But some people just naturally like, oh, they just know how to grow things better than others. So we would say they have a high intelligence when it comes to the naturalist kind of thing. The next one is pretty self-explanatory. It's a good word to know. Self-explanatory. It explains itself. We don't have to talk too much about this one. Musical. Obviously, you can see, make myself a little bit smaller. Right here. It says discerning sounds. So they can figure out sounds. Is this higher pitch, lower pitch, tone, rhythm, and timbre. So I know of people. I'm not one myself. I do play the drums, though. I don't know if I told you that. I do play the drums, so a little bit with the musical stuff. But there are some people that maybe they learn one instrument, but then they just understand it better. They understand maybe music theory better. So they're able to pick up instruments more quickly. Not that you don't have to work at it, becoming better at it. I mean, some of the greats when it comes to music, I mean, they work really, really hard at it. I don't want to make it think like make you think like, oh, it just comes easier to them. Maybe they were born with a little bit more musical intelligence, but most of the people who have become really good in music that we can name, the good people, they worked really, really hard at it. So a lot of this stuff you have to work hard to get the intelligence up. But musical, probably no questions about that. Maybe people like they just, hey, they learned how to play the flute in like 2 weeks after they, played the clarinet or something like that. So musically, or just a naturally good singer, maybe. And then you can get better at it, but just they had more ability than some of us. The next one, logical mathematical. I mean, it's a really long name, just like they're good at math. How about that? They're good at math. And this is one of the two that schools really like. Like we test for this, math. We're going to get to the linguistic side. So if you're good at math, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Okay, so there's interpersonal. And then in the top here, we're going to get to intrapersonal. So let's talk about the difference. Interpersonal. These are sensing people's feelings and motives. I think they call them empaths. I think an empath is just like you're more in tune, like you can read a room well, we might say. Like you can empathy. Empathy. When you can feel what somebody else is feeling. And in the video we watched yesterday, the lady said these are school counselors. They probably have if they're good, they really have a good, high intelligence in this one, the interpersonal. Think of inter as like between. So the interstate. If you go on the interstate, like you can go out to the turnpike here, I-95, and you can take it all the way down to Florida. It goes between the states, interstate. Okay. So interpersonal, it's with other people. Keep that in mind when we talk about intra, because I'm going to talk about like intramurals. Okay. Speaking of intramurals, bodily, kinesthetic, right there. These are athletes. Okay. Just some people might have quicker reaction times when it comes. Maybe like I would think video games fall into this. If you're really good with like hand-eye coordination, anything physical. I mean, some people, we have them on this team. I think I've talked to you about this. Like, it's just like, all right, maybe your main sport is soccer, but that doesn't mean you couldn't just like pick up a basketball and maybe become like the best basketball player on the team. Or like maybe you've never played softball before, but like give them a bat and they'll be okay. Even though I do think one of the hardest things in sports, in all of sports, is taking a round stick or round object and trying to hit another round object. Like in baseball or softball, really difficult. But maybe, put that person in the outfield, put that person, catching or whatever, and they can do it. They just have really quick hand-eye coordination. So bodily, kinesthetic. We all know the people. Some of us are better. Some of us not so good. And, think about some people who are just really not good at sports. Might be, I mean, it doesn't matter. You could practice 10 hours a day, 7 days a week for 2 years. You're still not going to be that much better. Some people are just natural born athletes. So think about that when we think about all of these different intelligences. Like it just like some people just have that natural born ability to do math, to be musical. And then they can hone in those skills. They can increase them. They can get better at it. And I think that's usually what happens. When you try something for the first time and you find success and you're just kind of good at it already, you build upon that because, it feels good to be good at something. And so you keep doing it. All right. Again, that doesn't mean you can't become better at some of these other ones. Okay. The next one, linguistic. Think this class. Think English class. This is the other type of intelligence that schools, I don't know what the right word is, but disproportionately test. So we don't test the musical. We put more weight on the linguistic and the mathematical. I'm not sure if that's right or wrong, but for whatever reason, these are the two intelligences that schools hold in higher regard. Yeah, to be honest. Again, is it right? I'm not sure. But the linguistic part. So your writers, your readers, that kind of thing. I would think like this is probably where my intelligence lies. I would probably rank myself highest in this one. I mean, I've been an English teacher for over 20 years, so I've had to become good at that. When I'm writing, I just see words kind of as puzzle pieces sometimes, like, oh, that would fit there. And I think I was naturally kind of like I didn't have to learn how to read like by kindergarten. And I don't know if it was because my parents read to me a lot or whatever, but by the time I got to school, I was like in the highest reading group, since kindergarten. It was just, I don't know if it came naturally to me, but I definitely read a lot. And so I got better at it. I think that's with all of these, right? So writing, reading, that kind of stuff. The next one, intrapersonal. So not inter. Inter means across other things. Intra means within. So when we have intramurals, which I don't think we have because of COVID. Do we have intramurals? Intramurals. It's the way I pronounce it. It's intramurals, but it's actually intramurals. It does have that prefix, INTRA. So instead of knowing how other people feel, you really are in touch with yourself. Like you know the kind of person you are. Okay. What does it say here? I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can read it. Understanding yourself, what you feel, what you want, what you need. No, what you want, what you feel and what you want. Oh, okay. What you feel and what you want. I thought there was another one there. So some people don't know themselves at all very well. And maybe the older you get, the better you get. But I would think that if somebody has a high intrapersonal intelligence, they would not succumb to peer pressure as much. So if somebody says, hey, whatever it is, let's try smoking or let's try drinking, and you feel like, oh, well, I don't really need that to fit in. I'm comfortable with myself. It's okay. I would think that type of person would have high intrapersonal intelligence, being comfortable in their own skin, realizing what their body needs. Okay. Some people are notoriously bad at that. So I would think if you become addicted to drugs and alcohol, your intrapersonal intelligence is pretty low. Like you don't know that stuff is like, and if it starts to become a problem, you don't realize that in yourself. So intrapersonal, it is a good intelligence to have. It really helps that person out. And I think this is the last one. Let me get to it here. Spatial. Spatial. Now, I would argue that this would also fall into the mathematical. But when we're talking about geometry, when we're talking about architects, when we're talking about people like, that design buildings and bridges, they can picture in their mind, okay, it's almost like that puzzle again, like putting the pieces together. They're naturally good at this. Now, maybe they have gone to college to enhance it, to become better at it. But I think some people just naturally, like, I'm bad at this. I'm really bad at this. And my wife always makes fun of me because when we're like in a new town, and I know, we have Google Maps to like show us around when you're driving, like, oh, turn right here, turn left. But without that thing, like I'm really bad with directions. And I think this is where this would fall into. Like, there are just some people, I have them in my life. My wife is one of them. My dad was one of them. They're like, just kind of know where they are in the map of the world. It's like, oh, yeah, we've been here before. Like, yeah, you just go up, take a left, take a right. Like, I have no idea. How can you not know this? We've been here 5 times. Like, I don't remember it. I don't remember it. So, that for me, that's one that I really lack, but hopefully you're good at all 9 of these. But that's the problem. As humans, it's hard to be good at everything. I don't know the average. Again, I said I'm not an expert in this, but I can imagine most humans are probably good at 2 or 3 of these. Really good at 2 or 3 of these. I hope. The more you're good at, the better, I would assume. So hopefully that helps. That lady yesterday I thought did a pretty good job, but at least today you heard it from a voice that you know a little better.